In this week's episode, I create a custom fence post cap that glows at night. I'll show you how I did it on today's Filament Friday. Filament Friday is brought to you every week by the generous donations of my Patreon supporters, and they get special access to chepclub.com. This whole thing started when my front yard was tore up to put in a new septic field. That required me to replace my fence, and I replaced it with this nice white picket. The old fence had some solar lighting, and I found these at the dollar store that we're going to use around the yard, and I realized I could probably just take this top off and build it into a new fence post cap that glows. So I went to my computer, brought up TInkercad, my favorite CAD software, and I brought in a cylinder and sized it to exactly that same size and shape of that solar light. And from there I'm going to build my fence post cap around it. So I brought in a block and just stretched this thing out to the dimensions that would fit inside the plastic post. So these are actually going to be the feet that go inside of it. And I needed to hollow it out, so I duplicated it, shrunk it down a little bit, made it into a hole, centered them, and then grouped them together. And that cut out the center of this thing. Now I've got the legs that will actually fit into the post. Now I need to build the cover on top of this. So I put the work plane on top and brought in another box and stretched this guy out, because this will actually become the top of the post itself. So I brought in the lighting element and positioned it to the center, brought it up, and then cut out the center of that box. So this is where the light will glow and shine through. And then I brought a pyramid piece to form the top of the post cover that matches really the old ones. And then the solar light will actually be recessed here, so I dropped it down. Now I need to cut the top of this off, so I brought in a box that I can make into a hole and drop it down on top of that solar, cut away the top of the pyramid. Now I need to cut out a hole for the solar element to actually poke through. And that was just another box, and here is the stack of everything grouped together. So I just group all these together, and I have my new fence post cover that I can actually glue the solar panel section into. The original post caps had the corners cut out of the fingers that fit into the post. So I decided to do the same thing to my design to make it easier to fit. And that was easy, just 4 boxes at each corner and cut it out. And here's the finished design. One problem. Once I put the solar light in, I found the walls were too thick and not tall enough. So even though the solar panel fit perfectly and was working, it just wasn't tall enough. So I went back to TInkercad, made it taller, and made the walls thinner. And here you can see the guts of it. And so that looked good, so I took it into Simplify 3D, and I'll show you how I sliced this one. I flipped it upside down. I used supports on the bottom, and just on the bottom to get those angles right. And then I went into my slicer settings, and I made this 100%. I didn't want some diffraction from the light. I did it at a 0.3 layer height. Infill, like I said, 100%. I did include supports, which I can check either place here. Temperature wise, these are the settings that I used for the Filament Friday filament that's clear, and hit prepare to print, and it said it would take 5 hours and 12 minutes. I used clear Filament Friday filament on my CR10 Mini. Here's a finished print, and the support material just breaks right off. It left the top a little bit rough, but this is going outside, so it's not a big deal. I removed a brand new solar unit, unplugged the battery protector, and tested it. And this thing was working good. So now I tested would it fit, and I've done that on the previous one. It was smaller and it fit just fine. So the next step was to just add some super glue gel to the corners and then just push this in place and let it dry. So you can see the glue squish through the clear plastic. And once it was dried, I could put it in place, and it just pushed right on top of the fence post. I printed 3 more, installed them, and then I filmed it from the side window because it was raining outside, and this was cool to watch it in time-lapse slowly get darker and then come on and glow. And frankly, my camera didn't pick it up as well. This looks fantastic when you see it in person. I don't know, what do you think of this? Let me know in the comments below. If you like these type of projects, maybe check out some of these other videos that are popping up. If you want to help support the channel, $1 a month to Chep Club via Patreon, and if nothing else, click on that Chep logo and subscribe. That's it. I'll see you next time right here at Filament Friday.